a lot in limelight, specific to the gender aspect in the Indian Army. When you talk about uniform, when you talk about men in Army, one of the most talked about issues has been the role of women in Army and the vision from the Indian Army side for inducting women. And that has been one of the core areas that you have been handling as an Adjutant General. What's the plan for it? Are women going to be restricted only to the military police, to the CMP, or there is a plan for it?
Okay, Ashish, as you rightly brought out, it takes a little time for a system to get evolved. Okay. Having taken the officer's cadre lady a few years back, I think we thought the right time has come to start thinking of getting the women in other ranks also. And when we were deliberating within Army headquarters, with the Chief of Army Staff, with the Ministry of Defence, we felt to begin with getting the women constables in military police might be a good idea to begin with, because this is necessity based, frankly. At times we require some women police to frisk if we are organizing some event, or when we are on line of control where there is a border fence behind. There are villages which are across the border fence. We want even the women going across to be frisked. As you know, the gender does not matter when it comes to inimical elements. Yes. So rather than relying on the police, local police, we thought might as well have our own women police, and that's why this plan was basically conceived by our present chief 2.5 years back. I had just taken over as Adjutant General that time. Yeah. And over the years, over the months, I can say, we worked out the final model, made a number of presentations to the ministry, to the Honorable Raksha Mantri, starting from Mr. Parikar, then to the present Finance Minister, and of course, by the time present Honorable Raksha Mantri has taken over, it is already farmed in. Okay. Now we worked out a model that we will have about 100 women constable every year over the next 17 years, so that we build it up to 1700, and then the cycle will start itself. Okay. Now at the moment it is that. As you asked, what is the future? Yeah. Based on the success of this, we might start thinking of getting the women in other ranks, maybe in some services, may not be in the combat role, maybe the AOC, where we can put them in the ordnance depots, maybe in EME workshop, if they have got the technical skills with themselves. But that's a little away at the moment. We will have to first wait and see how does the first step work out for us.
So as you explained in terms of the induction plan and the vision from the Army side. So, but what is going to be the role and position of the women, specifically in the military police?
Yeah, see, as Ashish mentioned, basically the necessity was evolved because of need of police constable, women police constable when we need them. Okay. But they are going to do the same job, but we are going to call them maybe a lady sepoy, or the other rank in woman other rank in military police. The terminology will remain the same as it is for the male other ranks. We are not going to use the terminology of any other sister service or a paramilitary force. Okay. So that we are going to ensure.
Okay. So you don't see women in Indian Army in combat role in immediate future?
Well, we have been thinking about it, but see, there are certain challenges in case that has to happen. You know what the conditions on ground is, where the combat roles are actually required to be performed. And it is not only that we are not keen to have them in the combat role, it is also the present society culture is such. It will take a long time, I feel, that if these women have to go into combat role, they are very good workers, let me tell you. Whatever task has been assigned to them, whatever roles they are performing, they are at par, sometimes maybe better than the male counterpart. But when it comes to combat, it has got certain other associated challenges. Unless we can overcome that psychological part of it, I think it will be not appropriate to use them in the combat role. And at the moment, I leave it at that. It has been deliberated enough along with the ministry also, and at the moment we want to restrict it to the wherever the women.
Yeah, so the practical on-ground challenges, which I agree to the largest extent in terms of the society's role and the mindset, which is evident for us to see in every profession, not just in army. It's a developing phase. The other major aspect generally you have been handling is related to the legal affairs. And one of the biggest issues that we have seen in recent past is to do with the adultery, the homosexuality. The Supreme Court has struck down 377. It's no more a criminal thing now, but it seems Army's position little different than the Supreme Court's order.
Oh, well, Ashish, once Supreme Court passes a judgment, it is as good as the law of the land.
Yes.
And we are part of this nation, so even the armed forces have to abide by the Supreme Court judgment.
Okay.
Having said that, firstly, in the Army Act, I am very specific, these two terms are not used in any Army Act, but there is a different way of putting it across, so which was amounting to, saying unbecoming conduct. And we were not calling it the word which you have just used. We have a different connotation, which I don't want to go into specific. But the fact is, having said that we have to abide by the Supreme Court judgment, it's a challenge now for us to still ensure that our basic moral fiber is not compromised because of any other reason. So it's a challenge, all right, but we will overcome this challenge. We'll find a different way to deal with it. And I must also mention slightly that everything cannot be dictated by the legality. In armed forces, we are also supposed to follow certain ethics. So we have to now relate it to what is the ethical requirement within the armed forces. And in case Supreme Court has ruled this, we have no option but to continue to abide by it. But we'll find some other way to deal with whatever we feel is a delinquency. We cannot obviously go against what has been passed by the Supreme Court. But we are in the process. We will still ensure that the armed forces remain absolutely ethical and moral bound. We are not going to allow dilution of our discipline standard, or ultimately if you dilute that, it is going to affect the performance of our soldier, which ultimately, if I take 10, 12 steps in between, amounts to compromising the national security, which of course cannot be allowed.
I sense there is a huge difference as far as the Army's point of view in homosexuality or the adultery is concerned. You're compartmentalizing completely between, say, a legal and the ethical aspect here.
You're right. You see, the living conditions in Army is such that 20 of them, 40 of them, 30 of them sleep in the same barrack. And an issue like this has to be looked at with that perspective. So that is, as you rightly hit, it is one of the major challenges with us. But I'm sure we'll find a solution to it. And still without violating anything which has been stated by Supreme Court.
So within the Army structure, it seems you'll figure out the way to deal with it because legal is one angle, but handling Army's discipline and the men and women on ground is altogether a different ball game. We trust you for that. So the other legal aspect that you have been handling and which has been making a lot of headlines and it has given a lot of concern to the common man, to the government, to the ministry as well, is the disability related. It seems that Army doesn't want, it's a little hell-bent as far as the taxation aspect on disability pension is concerned. It appears to a common man that why do you want to tax a disabled soldier's pension?
It is very unfortunate that some of us suffer some kind of disability, and especially if the disability has been suffered in the course of discharge of your duty, the organization is honor bound to compensate for it. And that is why you have these provisions of disability element, disability pension. And government has worked out these rules that they must also get the income tax exemption. That's absolutely fair. If you have suffered this injury during operations, there is no issue at all. If you have suffered it, not operation, but you are performing your duty, going in a service vehicle, meets with an accident, you suffer something, absolutely perfect. But you also have to see, these are the disability which I say are by compulsion. But if I have a lifestyle disease, and if suppose I get into the habits which can give me something like diabetes or hypertension, and when I get the first indication and I take no recourse to improve upon it, that means if suppose I smoke a lot and I am found that I've started with the primary hypertension, if I don't stop smoking, this is going to get further compounded. Now that's where I say, then I become disabled. Is it fair on my part to then claim that I have been disabled because of service condition? I had the option, I had the choice. I think I have become disabled by choice now. I have no right to say that I should be treated at par with the others who became disabled because of compulsion of service. That's what I mean. Now, I also must make a mention. It's quite fair. Basically disability is given, disability element is given to compensate for your functional disability.
Yeah.
Absolutely fair system. But there are cases where you are drawing disability pension, but you are performing your entire function.
Okay.
Then where are you disabled? No, it is something, as an individual I feel, it has to come from within. I wonder if you know, our Chief of Army Staff also suffered a major injury when he was a young officer. Okay. He had a major problem with his leg. He got out of it, and it was on line of control. He would have been an absolute perfect, bona fide battle casualty. He decided to come back from that, and he's presently shape 1. But if you notice during winter sometime, you might find that little limp at times if he's sitting for a long time. But he has never said that I cannot get out of it. The previous vice chief, if you know him, he got this burn injury in Sri Lanka, if I remember correctly. Yeah. Did you find anything wrong with him? He also got out of it?
No, I just interviewed him a few weeks ago.
So what I'm saying, we often blame doctors because I adjudicate on disability. For me to say that the disability has been granted wrongly is only indication that I am not doing my job properly. Okay. But the fact is, the way the documents come to AG's branch, they are absolutely correct. So I have no option but to grant that. It has to be that individual who has to understand. And why do we want disability, the money spent, defense budget is spent on disability to go down? Okay. Because the budget head remains the same. That is one aspect. The second is, more and more lifestyle disability means more and more people who will not be able to perform to the requirement when it comes to the operations. We want army to become fit. Yeah. That is the second aspect. So there is nothing wrong in trying to reduce the disability unless the man genuinely deserves it. Secondly, while in service, if I have a minor or primary hypertension, why should I be just thinking that I should become disabled 30%, 20%? Okay. Their times have changed. There are medicines available. Yeah. I take them, I am performing fully well. There could be some employment restriction to going into a particular terrain condition, which might aggravate. Those could be in place, but otherwise I am able to perform. I wear specs. Nobody tells me I am disabled. Okay. I am able to read well. But if I have a hearing problem, you put a hearing aid, I get the disability. Okay. I don't think that's a very fair system. That's all. Otherwise, anyone who has got this disability because of service condition, he needs to get this compensation. And he will continue to get income tax exemption given by government. Obviously, he will enjoy that benefit. Okay. In any case, whatever has happened in the past, there was a letter which except the invalidment, all other income tax exemption except the war injury cases were removed. But that case is now sub judice in court. Someone has gone to court, so I should not be saying anything more than this.
Sir, as you explained, it seems keeping the legal aspects aside for the common man to understand, it seems the current system and the norms that were present in the Indian Army and the MOD and the entire structure was incentivizing more of a disability, was encouraging more of a disability, thereby making the Indian Army more unfit and not incentivizing and encouraging to be fit. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Absolutely, Ashish. See, the present provisions are such, if you are not having that self-respect for yourself to remain physically fit, and especially if you know that possibly you are down the hill, there is nothing much to look forward to. You had this option of just saying, okay, now enough is enough and let me now just do whatever I have to do. And smallest of the problem, you may like to just get some kind of disability. I'm not saying everyone does it, but what I'm saying, few of us might be doing it. Yeah. But tell me, Ashish, as you rightly pointed out, where is the incentive for a man who after 40 years of service going out in the shape in which he joined the academy? What is his advantage? Yeah. He doesn't get any incentive. You know why? Because that is how I'm supposed to be. What is happening? What you are supposed to be, if you are not that, you are getting a benefit. Yeah. And if you are what you are supposed to be, you are getting no benefit. Not required. But we have to see the benefit which you are giving to people who are not in shape 1. Yeah. They must be really deserving 1. Is the only criteria, we have been trying to say. And there is nothing unfair about disability. I will not say that at all. Yeah. But it should be given only to a person who deserves it.
Okay. So that's going to be one major legal battle that the Adjutant General's branch would be facing in the Supreme Court and within the government structure, as well as per the stand and the position of the army is concerned. As General Ashwani just explained, this actually is a very nuanced aspects as far as the disability pension aspect is concerned. And now we know, and through you, our even viewers and the common man also understood exactly. Until now, we were, at least the common man had by and large understanding that government is hell-bent on taxing the disability pension of the Jawans and the officers, but now it's pretty clear now.
If I may just clarify one more aspect. You see, there is no harm in getting disability pension if you are disabled. The issue is, as it is you have been compensated, now you are getting income tax exemption also on that. Now, I will not go into the nitty-gritty of Income Tax Act 1922, but if you make a plain reading of that act, that is my interpretation, which is not the interpretation of the authorities which matter. My interpretation is income tax exemption is only for the disability element part of it, not on the service element. It says pension, if I remember, it may not be the exact words, the pension given because of disability will be tax-free. Now, if I am not disabled, the pension I am getting is service pension for which I am paying tax. What is additional I am getting when I am disabled? The disability element. So, as per the act, only that is supposed to be exempted. But over the years, they say entire thing is exempted. So, okay, that's the interpretation of the department themselves. So, I am no one to question that.
Okay, let's see how
that's my individual interpretation.
The other topic, sir, I've heard, and this is something that I believe is going to be discussed for the first time in public, is the code of conduct. I've heard from the multiple officers in senior rank in Army headquarters. There is something being planned, and that is being done by the AG's branch, on code of conduct for the retired officers. What's that?
Well, you know, Ashish, this is nothing new. Armed forces are the only organization which by the constitution are allowed to carry their rank after retirement. When that happens, it is appreciated, it is anticipated that they will continue to follow the code of conduct more or less in the same way as was being done while they were in service. But there have been some cases which I am sure you are also aware, where we find that this needs to be refreshed, fine-tuned. So we are in the process of very advanced deliberations are already there, where we are trying to work out some methodology that when people like me, when they retire, they must give some kind of undertaking on a code of conduct which they will abide with. And any violation, depending upon what modifications are required to the existing provisions, which we shall take up subsequently, are required to say what amounts to good conduct post-retirement. That is in the pipeline. At the moment, it is only at Army headquarters we have worked it out. It is a tri-service issue. It is in advanced stage of deliberation, as I just mentioned. It will be taken through the tri-service committees like PPOCs and Chief of Staff Committee. And when the three chiefs decide that it is in perfect shape to be taken forward with the government, it will be done in that manner. And whatever existing provisions required to be amended, if we require to go to government, that process will be initiated as required.
The first thing, as you mentioned about the entire tri-service and the multiple committees, most of the aspects after retirement, the Army headquarters might have to bring a lot of, say, an IPC-related amendments. For that, you'll have to go to the government, to the cabinet, to the parliament, maybe. Are you going to take it till that level?
Yeah, well, Ashish, if it is required, it will have to be taken, because once the man is not in uniform, he is not governed by service acts. He is governed by the civil laws, which in any case in service also is governed, but that gets little qualified with the Army Act or Air Force Act or Naval Act. But once he is out, if we establish a violation of a code of conduct, if we have to take action against him, it will have to be in line with the existing civil provisions. And therefore, if that requires a little qualification in the act of that civil provision, a modification, it will require government approval. We will initiate that process whenever we reach that stage.
So it's going to be a little, I would say, an extended version even after retirement. Not only just, I mean, they can't just be free of the Army Act and the Military Act in terms of post-retirement scenario. They will still be under code of conduct induced by the Army.
On service matters. Remember, I am talking. Otherwise, they are in any case governed by the civil law.
Okay.
I am talking of the issue pertaining to services.
Okay.
You know, that is the issue I'm saying. Though you are a member of VCHS, you have your canteen facilities, some kind of violation of the expected norms there
Okay.
will become part of it. I'm just giving you an example.
Okay. So it's not going to be just simply enjoying, I would say, the rights as far as the ranks and the other amenities post-retirement is concerned, but you're going to induce the duties and the responsibilities post-retirement as well. How will you ensure it? Is there going to be some bond or the one that is signed during the commissioning that will continue?
No, see, commissioning bond finishes once you're retired. Okay. That's why I said, we are just working out a kind of an undertaking that you are going to abide by this code of conduct. Before retirement, the person concerned will sign irrespective of the rank. And that will be the basic document, violation of which will amount to disruption of continued good conduct after retirement. Now, why I am harping upon this good conduct after retirement? After retirement, the only thing related to the service of an ex-serviceman is his pension.
Yeah.
So, if at all something can be done which is violating about service condition, is stoppage of his pension.
Oh, okay.
So the good conduct needs to be qualified a bit.
Okay.
That is the aim. I mean, I don't know in what form it will come, whether it will see the light of the day in this form or in a different form. But the fact is, we have started thinking about it. We are seriously addressing this issue. Our chief is very perturbed on these matters, that moment you retire, suddenly some of us, or maybe few of us, just forget that you are donning the uniform just 10 days back. And my message to people who are retired is also this. All of you have been very trusted seniors, respected, admired seniors, no doubt. But you have run your organization in a particular manner.
Yes.
The times are changing.
Yes.
Every leadership changes with the time and sees the same challenge with a different perspective. So let the present hierarchy run the show. And don't start thinking that we could have done this, we had done this. Things are changing. Let it be that.
Okay. So the punishment even post-retirement would be in terms of pension if the code of conduct is not followed. Let's see.
This is just an example I have given you to drive home the point.
Okay.
The punishment, I'm not saying pension stopping is not very easy.
Yeah.
Reduction in pension is not very easy. Yeah. I've just given you an example.
Okay.
Unless there is some deterrence,
okay,
what will we do?
Okay.
No.
And since pension will remain the only major aspect post-retirement.
I'm just giving a loose comparison.
Yeah.
At the moment, even now, what is good conduct as per existing norm for that pension issue is also qualified.
Okay.
It is qualified. If you do this A, B, C, D, then it can be stopped. We are just trying to look at, can we go beyond D to E and F and G? Okay. That's all.
Okay. Sir, when we talk about Indian Army, in current scenario, the most important topic is Kashmir. And you were there at in the Jaklai, Jammu and Kashmir Light Infantry Regiment passing out parade as the guest there, as the review officer passing out parade. How do you see this situation in Kashmir after 370 and 35A? Also, what is being done from the Army side as far as the non-operational and the anti-militancy and anti-terrorism aspects are concerned? Anything more being planned from the Army side for Kashmir other than the operational aspect?
You see, Ashish, what happens, what is covered by you all about Kashmir is only about operations. Grenade blasted red Lal Chowk, so many infiltrations, so many militant attack. Behind that, what is going on, as the formations there call it, winning hearts and mind of the local populace, that by and large goes unnoticed. Okay. Having served there for some time, I understand that it is that connect with the local population which is most important. The average local youth of Kashmir Valley wants to remain part of integral India. I have no doubt on that. It is my experience when I was lucky enough to be invited to review the parade of Jaklai Regimental Center recruits passing out, biggest batch 575. Itself is an indication that there is no dearth of people willing to join armed forces. Okay. Of course, there could be few who are otherwise not very keen. And while I was interacting post the parade, with some of the parents, I found there were families, not one, not two, more than dozen, where 4 to 5 sons were already in Indian Army.
4, 5 from one family?
One family.
Okay.
Some in Jammu and Kashmir Rifles, some in Jammu and Kashmir Light Infantry, some in Dogras. So these are the catchment area for these people. So there is no issue as far as that part is concerned. Average Kashmir youth does not want trouble. He is willing to go along with whatever policies are implemented on behalf of Government of India. And that is the role which is the army formation there are ensuring, giving them solace, giving them peace, giving them a normalcy as far as the routine is concerned. You must go there and see. I mean, I was there, since you mentioned Article 370. After a long time, I felt that I am not in Kashmir Valley. I am in any other part of country. It was that good. Okay. At no stage I found that there are barriers, that the police are going around. No, it was total peace I found. I was surprised. Okay. I think this is because of Article 370. Now, this Article 370, I mean, I am no one to comment on it. I am not an expert on this. But to my mind, it has been done only to ensure better governance for the very disadvantaged people which were supposed to have been helped by Article 370, which was not happening. Okay. So I think government has taken a call. It is just for that purpose. As far as situation along the border or line of control is concerned, it continues to be same. So we continue to be ready as far as that part is concerned.
Sir, on the, as you mentioned about the situation along the LOC, and we have seen a lot of bad action, a lot of activities happening. It recently went up to the opening the artillery guns as well, which is not a very common phenomena. It doesn't happen, I would say, on a daily or a weekly basis as Pakistan indulges in LOC, ceasefire violations. But in terms of the action happening along the LOC and in POK, do you see some major activity happening, or it's the same thing that has been happening? Is there some kind of frustration in POK where they want to do some activities, indulge in more terror activities in the post 370 and 35A scenario?
You see, this post 370, what has happened, because of the reasons are well known for some time, the activities of the militancy was curtailed to a large extent. Obviously, this kind of situation will give a little frustration to the people who want to continue with that. But having said that, to be specific on these issues, I think the GOC there in 15 Corps or the Northern Army Commander may be in a better position to comment upon it. But as far as we are concerned, in whatever I know of, we are as prepared as we were earlier. Whether they open artillery gun, whether they open mortars, whether they open any other automatics, they will be responded to in a much more harsh manner they can ever imagine. I have no doubt that Indian Army, if you try one, they are going to get back 10. And I leave it at that.
Okay. We have seen that happening in terms of the recent activities along the LOC, and specifically with the RT guns that were opened fire. They were doing a lot of hue and cry about it, taking the ambassadors and the high commissioners to the LOC area. A lot of international media activities were happening from DGISPR's side. That's something that has not yielded any positive result for them. But on that note, I want to ask, when you see the narration being built from the DGISPR, some attempts being made from not only just at the DGISPR level, at the top hierarchy in Pakistan Army, at the top hierarchy in Pakistani government, Imran Khan, nuclear threat, warmongering, a lot of these things have happened in the last few months. How do you see this?
You see, Ashish, I must tell you, I have been a big admirer of Mr. Imran Khan as a cricketer. I have grown seeing his cricket. But you know what happens? He's very good at bowling bouncers. He's very good. He's an all-rounder, as you all know. He's very good at playing a square peg. But these two things can be done only in the game of cricket. It can't be done in any other game. In any case, this is politics, not cricket. So I think that's where the problem is with Mr. Imran Khan. This nuclear bogey, saber rattling, it is not going to yield any result as far as the other side is concerned. But I guess he has to keep saying something for his local public. Well, he can keep doing that. I don't think I should be saying anything more than that, because it does not bother India as a country. He can keep saying, we have to do what we have to do.
Okay. Sir, since we're talking about Pakistan, in last few days we have heard multiple comments coming from Defence Minister Rajnath Singh, from Army Chief General Bipin Rawat and few other ministers and the officers as well, as far as the POK plan and vision is concerned. Since, as I just introduced to our viewers at the beginning of the interview, that you are not only responsible for the legal, admin, HR and the ceremonial aspects, but also for the war preparedness. In terms of the capability, in terms of Indian Army's manpower, technology, acquisition, equipments, platforms, and the psychological condition as well, is the Indian Army ready to take on, say, Pakistan-occupied Kashmir?
You see, Ashish, the kind of question you asked is based on an information which is a privileged information, which is known to hierarchy even within Indian Army and in MOD on need-to-know basis.
Okay.
So if Honorable Raksha Mantri of Government of India and my chief say that they have plans in place, well, I also know that what they have said. I am under no illusion that whatever is the role and charter of AG's branches to keep that operational effectiveness going is being done. Now, my role is not to ensure that 100% weapons are there, 100% equipment is on road, there is ammunition 10i, 20i, 30i is there or not. Yeah. My job is to ensure that when a soldier tomorrow gets up to fire a gun or an automatic weapon, he is fully focused on the task at hand across the border or the line of control, and he is not distracted here for something way back home, whether his wife is sick, not being taken care of, whether there is a problem of his house, whether his child is fallen sick, or his education. I ensure that does not distract him so that he can perform what is required to perform. That's how AG's branch ensure operational effectiveness of the armed forces.
This is that even mentally you feel our men and women are fully prepared in terms of psychology to go ahead with the POK plan, which has still been a bit of deterrent, that not sure whether it will be.
The plans are something which you cater for all the contingencies, and you keep them ready. Depending upon when it is required to be executed, I am sure the people who need to do it, who need to order to do it, they know what they are doing, and I am sure we are well prepared to do it. Yeah. If, as our chief has said, Honorable Raksha Mantri has said, if it comes to that, we are ready for it, I think. Yeah. That, as I guess, because it is a privileged information, not known to Lt General. Yeah. Okay. It might be known to Director General Military Operations. Okay. So we work on that scenario.
Okay. One last question, sir, before I let you go. When we talk about AG's branch, the other major aspect that we have witnessed happening is CDS, the Chief of Defence Staff. And since your branch deals with a lot of legal and the technical aspects as well, which is going to be one of the major aspects as far as announcing, appointing, I would say, the CDS is concerned, after Prime Minister Modi's announcement of CDS, do you see things in place? Do you see this happening in a month or two?
Well, going by what was stated when it was announced, I think it is well on course. Okay. I mean, behind the scene activities, whatever I know being done at the headquarter ideas, I think they're preparing for it. Except the name who will be first CDS, I think to create the adequate infrastructure to work out various policies, provisions, or what they must be doing, I think it is under deliberation, well on course. I see it coming, I think, before the year end.
Sir, thank you so much. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you, Ashish. It's been an honor talking to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.